And then underneath all of that, he gave him something else. He says, I will place in you a will of your own. I have a will. All that I am doing is the outcome of my will. I will put in you a will too. What is that? A power to choose. You may look at a situation that has the possibilities of choosing, and in you will rest this power of choice. But I will warn you, keep choosing with me. I will come and reveal to you my thought, my will, and my purpose. I have made you for my glory. I have made you for my pleasure. And I will reveal to you my will, and you choose with me. Choose with me. You have the power not to choose, but I warn you to choose. Because I asked you to choose with me does not mean you haven't any choice. You still have it. But I warn you, choose with me. And as you choose with me, my choice moving, vibrating, moving out through you, God will be glorified, His will be done, and you shall come into the purpose and thought and desire of my heart. You will grow under that and come to a place of what? Showing forth my image and my likeness. A perfect reflection of my image and my likeness, because you hold potentially all that's necessary to do that. Now choose with me. So, when we look at him from either angle, as a human being, spirit, soul, and body, and as a personality gifted with great intellectual powers, an emotional range, and a power to choose, he stands there, and God looked upon him, and God's benediction was, it is very good. Well, now let me go back just a minute to help you with something. If people ask you to talk about personality like that, don't start defining it. Why you say, well, any creature that has these three items that are so wonderful of mind and the power of choosing and the emotional life, that would be what I say is a personality. No, don't say that. Now, when you define that, let me show you. Shall I show you where you'll get wrong? How many want to know where you'll be wrong if you say that? Now, don't make your definition so tight, and you say, this creature, whatever it may be, if it has intellectual powers, emotional reactions, and a will of its own, why, that he must be a person. No, it isn't. You bring a little donkey in here. How many know a donkey is intelligent enough to know some things? Says even the ox knows enough where he eats. How many know an animal has some intelligence? Don't they? They sure do. That little donkey to have intelligence to know to come in, go out, know a lot of things. He has quite a little brain capacity. How many know animals have emotional life? How many ever seen a dog when he's got jealous? Come on, own up, have you? How many ever seen a dog when he laughed? You know what I mean. Man is the only animal that laughs, but I've seen dogs when I think they really laugh. Yes? How do you know that animals have quite a range in the emotion? They are jealous, they're happy, they're mad, they get ugly. They're all great emotional range. How many know they have a will of their own too? That little donkey, how many know he has a will? Did you ever try to drive a mule when he didn't want to go? Well, what was that in him? Well, that was his willpower. He says, I won't. Well, now that little old mule can think, he has emotional reactions, and he has the power to choose. Is he a person? Come on now, is he a person? God, he's not gifted with personality at all. Oh, I'd like to open that with you for about an hour here. I would like to just have to say go to town on that, but I don't have time. How many see a beautiful field? I'll help you with two little things right in there so that those who are hanging in the air say, tell us the reason why. Well, now the man as a personality has something more than that, more than the animal has. He has two things. He has what I call self-consciousness over against body consciousness. The animal is body conscious, but he is not self-conscious. he hasn't any idea about his identity. A horse can't stand up and say, I am a horse, I weigh so many pounds, I can draw so much, A horse can't do that. He knows to eat and to pull and to be obedient, but he has no sense at all as to entity. How many know what I mean now? Self-entity. He hasn't that. Animals haven't that. They move under the laws of, instinct, and they are body conscious through sense perception, but they have no soul qualities in them. They can't say that. Now what else? The animal has no conscience, and man is blessed with a conscience. How many sense will I mean now? Animals learn not to do and to do, not from a moral sense, but from training. Now some dogs know not to do this and to do that. That is not a moral decision. It's a decision he makes because if he doesn't do that, he'll get licked. Do you get it or don't you? This is kind of tight. Do you mind me teaching? Do you like it? All right, I'll go on a little more with you. I want to help you to get some of this stuff straightened out in your thinking. Because God deals with us, and if we aren't intelligent, half the time we don't know what he's doing with us. If we play one thing, and he comes down and does, and we turn right around, pray right out of the window. Well, because we don't know. He knows that. He's very patient with us. So there he stands as a strange, unique human creature, a human being. And God's benediction was, it is very good. Very good. Well, now listen. That was his benediction upon Adam before he had functioned in any way. Yes, he had not yet functioned in any way. But as a created creature, he was very pleased and satisfied with what he had made. But you see, he had become a partaker of human nature. He was a human being because God made him a human being. That was a gift to him. He had anything to do with it. He was a recipient. God made him, created him, a human being, responsive in all these fields that I've been trying to just briefly touch. I can't analyze them as I would like to. I'm just giving you a sketchy little hazy introduction in that field, but it's big. How many of you see it's a lovely field to get in? That's where I like to move around, find things. I find a lot of good things in it too, because the Lord shows them to me, and I found them in the Bible. Then that pleases me more, and then I get real blessed, because I find it's in the Word, and it's in according to his plan, and according to what he's doing, and he makes me a little more intelligent as to what he's doing, so I can act properly with him. Now, let's come back. Intellectual gift, tremendous. Does he try them? Certainly. He tries them. That's all right. But you see, here are these three elements in him. Now, they all have to have a place or a field of demonstration and action and moving. He has not yet developed the character which God sees possible in him, which will become the medium for the reflection of the likeness and nature of God, his image and likeness. That image and likeness cannot be reflected in just a piece of flesh walking around. There has to be a character formed and shaped in that vehicle. And God was making Adam. That was merely Adam as the potential, the potential creature. And he says it's good, but he hasn't functioned yet. I have made him that he may glorify God, bear his image and likeness, do the will of God. How can he do that? You have to subject him to a law. What is it? The law of testing and proving. For your law of testing and proving is the basic element in your character building. A law of testing and proving. So what does God do? Well, God placed him in the garden, and of course, being his creature, he has to look after him. He didn't say to Adam, you'll die if you don't work now and earn something. No. He is God's creature. And God is responsible for his creature. Adam did not ask to come here. And since God created him, then God is under all obligation to take care of it. And God does take care of it. And when you are born of the Spirit and become a child of God, oh, I wish I could open that to you. You are born into a fresh, new, lovely creation. And God is responsible for you and me, both of us. And we don't have to lie awake all night. Oh, Lord, I need a pair of shoes. Well, where's God? I guess he's in heaven. Oh, what funny prayers people make. Why don't you pray the kind of prayers he wants, along the lines that have to do with him? What kind of a Heavenly Father has you wouldn't give you a pair of shoes? What's the matter with you? I had a father in the flesh that gave me shoes, boots rather, when I was born in the country, when we wore leather boots with little copper toes on them. I remember when Dad took me down in the fall to shop. I tell you, we lived way back in the country. So I had to shop to get my boots for the winter. Was I ever so happy and proud? I walked around with little leather boots about as big as that and copper toes on them, too. But Dad gave them to me. I never was crying. Oh, Dad, I'll die. Well, he said, oh, come on, son. And then he would give them to me. Now, he makes the garden. It has all the trees for their food. Everything they need. And he said he made it for their food. Now, here are two special trees in the garden, in the midst of that garden. There's one called the tree of life, of which he was continually to partake of this tree of life, because it was a symbol tree to keep him ever in mind this thought: I have no independence of my own. I have no life resources in me. I am a dependent creature. I am a created creature. It is not in me to live. God must give me life. My life comes from God. And so God says to keep that ever in your mind. Here's the tree of life. Eat of this and you'll live forever with me. It is a symbol. It's a symbol tree. Partake of this. It's the tree of life. To let you know that there's no life independent from me. You have no life independent of me at all. What life you have, I give you. Here's your tree to illustrate it and to keep that ever in your mind. I am a dependent creature. There is no life in me. I am a limited creature. I can function only as far as my human nature permits me. I'm not an angel, therefore I'm not trying to fly. I'm not an angel, therefore I don't appear and disappear. I am a human being bound under the structural law of the human concept of life. Glory to God. Bound in it. Wrapped up in it. Moving in it. The structural law of my being. That holds me. And he says, here are these two features. You are limited to move within the bounds of whatever that human concept spells. It spells over here or here. You move and vibrate and live and have your being in that, in me, dependent in me continually. No life in you. The life is in me. Abide in me. Live in me. Now let's stop just for a minute. I'll come back in a minute. Let me help you. How do you see something in the New Testament like that? Do you see Jesus teaching? The same philosophy. He has to teach exactly the same. And so he gets his disciples together and he says, listen, you have no independence. You have no life of your own. Abide in me. Abide in me. As the branches abide in the vine. I am the vine. You're not the vine. You are the branch. You abide in me. Neither have you any life independent of me. How many see the same philosophy and teaching? Well, truth is the same wherever you go. Wherever you go, the truth is always the same. I sometimes have said, Lord, this lovely field of truth that you let me see, and he lets me see so many lovely things, I just love him for it. I think he's wonderful. And I touch a little bit of truth here. It's like a big web. How many ever touched a spider's web here and had it vibrate, a whole web vibrate? Have you ever done that? Just try to pick a fly that's got caught in the web. You pick it, how many know every cable of that old web will begin to vibrate? Well, that's like truth. It's such a vast field, so intricate, marvelous, and beautiful, that if I tackle a bit of truth and this part of it, I find that truth is vibrating way over in Job. Then I wiggle it again, it comes up in Revelation. And I wiggle it a little more, and I find it in the Psalms. You get me, or don't you? Yeah, that's the way it is with me. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm funny, but that's the way I see things. And I have a good time. Don't you think I do? Sure. I just have a marvelous time with the Lord. I wish the people would let us both alone sometimes, but they don't. I say, I get along good with the Lord seems to get along with me, but it's these eternal funny spirits that I feel around me all the time. Well, I'm a sensitized plate. How many of you know I am already? Terrifically so. I wish I were not. Sometimes I'd be very happy. But then I guess I'd get tired of it. I'd wiggle somebody just to wake them up. Have you ever seen people so wonderful like that? I always feel like shaking them. But then I mustn't, because that would be very bad. But there are people who, their whole makeup, I just want to scream. I think, oh, just get me away. And what's the matter? I don't know. They're so awful good. You forget you? Oh, I said, I want to say, just like that to them, you know. And wake them up. And they said, what's the matter? Well, I said, well, you're asleep, darling. Wake up. Life is here. So he'll come back now to this abiding. Here's your tree of life. He says, partake of that continually. You live with me. You live forever. Eternal life. Now here's another tree. He says, this is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Who planted it? God. Most people think the devil got over the wall when God didn't know it, and he planted one of these awful trees in the garden called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and he was just going to shipwreck God's doings. No. God planted it. I've had people say, well, Follette, why in the world, when God had made man so wonderful, everything good, why did he go and plant a tree like that? Well, my heavens, he had to. Well, why? That's the basis now for the beginning of the releasing. How do you see it? Yes, why? Here is where his power to choose may have occasion. His intellect has been working marvelously. He loves the Lord, of course, devotedly. God says, here's another element in you that must find its proving too. You have a power to choose, and I'm going to make that the basis. Now, here's a tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I warn you, because I love you, I warn you. Don't bother with it at all. Now, don't reason about it. I'm just telling you, let it alone. But I just let it alone. Well, I wanted to see how tall. Let it alone. I wanted to find out what fruit. Let it alone. Was that fair warning? Yes, fair warning. Because God says, in the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. How many funerals had he attended that he knew all about die? Well, he didn't know any more about die than that piece of wood. Not at all. All he knew was life. What did he know? He knew that he was to be obedient to God. That's what he did know. He didn't have to know why and how and what kind of a tree and wow. Don't wow, God. Be still. Oh, these people who wow with the God. Sit down. Love him and worship him. But why does God don't why him? Worship him. I was made to worship God, not to why God. When? No, worship him. He tells us enough as it is. If I walked in all the light I have now, I would be going some. Wouldn't you? Yeah. I want to know why. No, you can't tell me. You can't tell me. Now he says, in the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. I warn you. However, in order to prove the powers of your choice, I have placed it here. Choose with me. Make it a positive choice. I choose with God. I choose with God. Yes, Lord. No tree. Yes, Lord. You know, the two hardest words in the English language to pronounce are little words. One is yes and one is no. Do you know they're the hardest word to pronounce? I think every one of you had occasion when that was the hardest word you'd have to say was yes or no. You could say all the other words, but he reduces it to such simplicity. Have you ever had an occasion when the only word you knew God wanted you to say was yes or die? How many have that? How many know what it is to say no and die? Yes, yes. Those are two strange little words, but our destinies hang upon the pronunciation of them. He said, choose with me, choose with me. Yes, Lord, no tree. Yes, Lord, no tree. Yes, Lord. So he puts him to his very first test. Now this is the first test that he has in the development of his whole lovely character in God. The character is the individual manifestation of the will of God wrought in a person, displaying God's thought and God's glory. And so, of course, we know the story that he disobeys, he takes of the forbidden fruit, and what happens? Well, the Scripture says, thou shalt die. And he fell right over in the garden there, a corpse. And Eve said, my land, what'll I do with him? No. Well, you know, that sounds funny. You know, people come to me with funny things just as that. I want to laugh right out loud at them sometimes, but I don't dare to. They think I was horrible. So I said, is that the way you think, dear? And they said, yes, Brother Follette. I said, oh. You know, I need an awful lot of prayer to get through. I admire these beautiful creatures who just go through so sublimely. Precious Lord. Well, I faint away about 4 times a day in kind of a thing like that. No. Come back. Yes, Lord. No. Now, what is he doing? This is his first occasion to demonstrate and to show back to God what God wanted, that he will say, yes, Lord, thy will, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, and no to this tree episode. People say, what would happen? Well, I think you know too. How many know there would have been a releasing in him of something of this glory and thing that God wanted? There would have been. There would have been a building up and a releasing of the very thing that God wanted, which can only be produced in this unique, strange fashion. But if that operation would have been there, exactly, and that would have begun to move in him, well, there would be a quality of strength. A quality of strength. What would happen again? He would meet another tree, dear. Well, if he gets through that one, what will happen? He will still meet another tree. How many get my philosophy? How many know?